Yo, the NBA used to have a slogan, NBA basketball. It's fantastic. And that was such a good slogan. I often hear like a lot of the newer school, new age fans kind of lament to, the older fans. You guys just want to bring 90s basketball back. You just want to bring back the 80s and the 90s, and that era is over. And you guys just need to let it go. And it's not that we want to bring back the 80s and the 90s. We want to bring back that fantastic. Here's what I can be honest about. Bro, in this first 30 days of the NBA season, this 2025-2026 season, man, NBA basketball has been out fucking standing, bro. I hear a lot of people saying crazy things like,
they ain't play no defense. The ball is out of control. Beauty, like the game, this ain't the same.
It is clear to me that anybody saying that inside of this first month of the NBA season, man, is not really watching basketball. In this episode, I am going to get into an ESPN article by Tim Bontemps, which details all 30 teams so far. Let's talk about it.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. Man, I'm so excited about this episode. It has been, like I said in the intro, this has been an exciting and amazing season so far. I'm going to dive into a 30-team preview. Before I do so, you've already seen the thumbnail, saw the intro, you know exactly what direction we're headed into. But before we get deep into this content, do me a huge favor, like the video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who might be interested in this kind of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. Clicking the notification bell keeps you in the loop as to when my newest episodes are uploaded. And man, oh man, without further ado, I am entitling today's episode the NBA's first 30 days of shockwaves. And again, at the risk of sounding hyperbolic, but not giving a shit, bro, this season has been amazing. I have a game plan that I'm going to detail for you here. So it's just going to be a two-part game plan. If you're used to the four-part game plans, you know how I do it. But this is literally just a two-part game plan because, namely, I want to get into on part one of the game plan, the Tim Bontemps article. And then in part two of the game plan, so we'll kind of do this like college halves, right? In the second part of the game plan, we're going to just get into the present standings in the NBA to kind of help to button up this particular topic. But the Bontemps article was actually published yesterday, so let's get right into that. The Tim Bontemps article was published on ESPN.com yesterday, and it's entitled NBA First Month Lessons, What We're Hearing on All 30 Teams. Tim literally sat down or just throughout the course of this this first month and, going to different arenas, speaking to his sources, etc., man, who are NBA executives, you know what I mean? Just like in casual conversation, he's gotten a chance to glean a lot that he put into this article. If you haven't already checked out the article, don't worry. I'm going to go through the entire article here. If you've already gone through the article on your own, man, stick with us also, because I'm going to give my insights and opinions based on what we read. And let's just dive right into it here. We are 1 month into the 2025-2026 NBA season, a campaign already featuring plenty of spectacular moments. The Oklahoma City Thunder and Houston Rockets played arguably the game of the year in the first battle of the season. It did seem like, man, like that. I mean, with a small sample size, that was like the game of the year, but I've seen so many great games that followed suit. So if that game set the tone, we should all be thankful and grateful that Houston and Oklahoma City set the tone for us to start this year out. But back to the article. They played arguably the game of the year in the first battle of the season, and things haven't slowed since. They certainly have not. A month isn't long enough to guarantee anything. Last season's Indiana Pacers, for example, started 6-10 and in 11th place in the Eastern Conference before their eventual run to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. But it is long enough for storylines to develop that could shape the few months of play, the run-up to February's trade deadline, and the race to the playoffs. I believe that. With that in mind, And after speaking with league insiders across the country over the past week, we're examining one lesson learned from each of the 30 teams. Man, you're going to love this article. First team up, the Atlanta Hawks. Lessons after 1 month, there might be a blueprint for a post-Trae Young era. What I'm hearing, this is in the words of Tim Bontemps, Young going down with a sprained knee October 29th has provided the Hawks with a chance to see what this roster could look like if he left as a free agent or via trade next summer when he has a $48.9 million player option. The early returns are promising. Atlanta has gone 7-2 without its all-star guard and, most interestingly, ranks 4th in defensive efficiency in that span. Sticking with Atlanta, Atlanta has never finished better than 18th in Young's 7 NBA seasons. I think the Trae Young situation is fascinating, a Western Conference executive told ESPN. They're a totally different team with and without him. Very true. The situation underscores the delicate dance between the longtime face of the franchise and a team potentially in transition. More with Atlanta. And with several more weeks under Young until Young returns, this stretch will only ramp up interest in whether his long-term future lies in Atlanta or elsewhere. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with Bontemps there. Great insights. And also, this Atlanta team, if you are very familiar with the channel, maybe you watch my premature, preseason predictions where I kind of talked about Atlanta and how everybody was high on Atlanta. And because everybody else was high on Atlanta, it kind of made me dig a little bit deeper and, consider them a little bit more. And so I ranked them pretty high in the standings, in my predictions episode. You have to go back and take a look at it. But they have been true to form both with and without Trae Young so far. Small sample size of games, less than 20 games played so far, but they have looked like a very formidable opponent in the Eastern Conference and just in the league in general. So, man, yeah, the Atlanta Hawks are certainly looking good. Let's move on to Boston. Lesson after 1 month, Mazzulla ball isn't going anywhere. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, with Jason Tatum recovering from a torn Achilles and 2024-2025 starters Kristaps Porzingis gone to Atlanta, Al Horford, who moved on to Golden State, and Jrue Holiday, who moved on to Portland, leaving over the summer. One curiosity around the league was whether Boston would move away from the three-pointer heavy approach it had leaned into under coach Joe Mazzulla. It hasn't taken long for that to be answered, as Boston, despite far less shooting on its roster, sits behind only Cleveland in threes attempted per game. Second most threes attempted per game on average. They still chucking them, bro. Mazzulla has always stayed true to his coaching philosophy in his short time on the Boston bench, despite the franchise taking a gap year of sorts from its championship aspirations. This year's team is the latest example. So that was on Boston, man. Just really quick before we move on to the next team, keep in mind, man, that Jason Tatum said, don't rule him out to return this season. He's not forcing it, but his recovery is going very well, according to him. And so, you know what I mean? Like, as long as Boston can stay afloat, they'll be okay. But the way that they play the up and down tempo, I think, as long as they continue to defend, they'll still kind of be in the mix, which is what I was expecting them to be through the season. You know what I mean? So far, they've looked like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have their best guy. And so far, what I really, really like with them being without Jason Tatum is it is hopefully making people put some respect on Jason Tatum's, name and game and his impact on that team. You know what I mean? Like, people be like, you could split him and Jalen up. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need both of them. Jason Tatum may not, be like a number one. He may not be the kind of number one option for a team that can lead the team, continually keeping in mind that Jason Tatum did not even win finals MVP during their championship run, or, and at the crowning of them as champions, it was, awarded to Jaylen Brown, obviously, who was the better player in that series. However, man, Jason Tatum's that dude. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget, put some respect on his name. Jason's that motherfucking guy. You know what I'm saying? But so I am excited to see how the season continues to develop for Boston. I'm sure they'll hit their stride at some point, man, string together some wins. And, you know what I mean? Like, we'll see where they are when the dust settles, I'll say. Moving on to the next team, the Brooklyn Nets. Lessons after 1 month. Jordi Fernandez isn't fixing things this time. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, league insiders praised the way Fernandez kept the Nets competitive during during a 26 and 56 season that hovered around 500 through Thanksgiving last year before bottoming out. But no amount of coaching acumen will be able to boost a roster designed to ensure Brooklyn lands a top prospect in the loaded 2026 draft. Multiple executives told ESPN this is the league's least talented roster, with early returns on the 5 first-rounders the Nets took in June's draft being mixed at best. And yeah, man, nobody's really expecting much from Brooklyn, like they said when they got, I mean, just a pretty, blah roster. Thanks to Kevin Durant, you know what I mean? They gutted the team, and you know what I mean? Like, kind of, I don't know, man, like dished out a bunch of really good pieces from the team, and gave up some draft picks, et cetera, too. So they're still just kind of hopeful to build now through the draft, which they should have just stuck to the team, which was a playoff team before Kevin got there. I'm just saying, man, that's just me. It's kind of partial to Brooklyn because I used to be a New Jersey Nets fan back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Derek Coleman, Kenny Anderson, rest in peace to Drazen Petrovic. You know what I'm saying? My man Chris Morris, some of those guys. But anyway, moving on to the into the article, Kon Knueppel's Rookie of the Year chances are real. Man, Kon's playing really, really good down in Charlotte. So we're going to talk about Charlotte lessons after 1 month. Kon Knueppel's Rookie of the Year chances are real. As I said, what I'm hearing, in accordance to Tim Bontemps, #1 pick, Cooper flagged into the season, expected to win the league's top rookie honor in a runaway. But the Dallas Phenom's biggest challenger could be his former Duke teammate. Shout out to Duke, man. Duke's been putting some really good products into the NBA, you know what I mean, as time has gone on. Fucking Zion. But moving on, Knueppel, behind a rookie class leading 18.3 points per contest, and his 40% clip from three has already impressed scouts with his shooting stroke and feel for the game. You're going to be averaging 18.3 and shooting 40% from three, 18.3 points per game, I'm saying. And also shooting 40% from three is, I mean, that's not just incredibly impressive for a rookie. That's incredible, period. You know what I'm saying? Like 40% is way above league average. And so, man, hopefully Kon Knueppel can keep that up. But moving on to the next team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Before I move to Cleveland, though, let me say to Charlotte, man, I love LaMelo Ball, bro. I love LaMelo Ball. They have a really good team. You know what I'm saying? It's not just LaMelo. You know what I'm saying? Like Bridges and man, I can't think of my guy who thinks that Paul George is the GOAT. But they have a really good team for whatever reason. I'm drawing a blank right now. But yeah, they have a really good team, man. A young team. But I expected them to kind of be on the bubble, you know what I mean, this year. And so far out the gate, man, they're doing pretty good. But moving on to Cleveland, as I said, lessons after 1 month, offseason changes are having an impact, just not a good one right now. But what I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, in essentially replacing 2025 six-man finals Ty Jerome and with Lonzo Ball, the Cavaliers knew they were risking a lower regular season ceiling in favor of a higher one in the playoffs. That's exactly what league insiders are seeing through the first month of the 2025-26. The departure of Jerome and the absence of Darius Garland, who has played just 73 minutes while dealing with a big toe injury, has dropped last season's top-ranked offense to outside the top 10. They're not great right now, but they're down at least 2 starters, a West Coast scout said, referring to Garland, Max Strus, and Sam Merrill, all missing time. Lonzo hasn't been great. Are they better than last year? Probably not. They've always needed Evan Mobley to get even better, and he's not there yet. As I said in the offseason, I was expecting Evan Mobley to take a leap, a giant leap, actually, because I, like these insiders, felt like, you know what I mean, like their success long term literally does hinge on how well Evan plays and how much more he progresses, because we know what we're going to get from Spider Mitchell. You know what you're going to get from Darius Garland. They're all solid players. You know what I mean? You know what you're going to get from Jared Allen. I love that they had brought over DeAndre Hunter. And, obviously all those other auxiliary pieces, that fit really well for them that we're talking about them having gotten rid of. Still got some Sam Merrill, still got Max Strus, you know what I mean, to fill some of those other roles. But Ty Jerome was a beast for them last year, and they lost him. So you expected them to, experience a bit of hiccups. But, yeah, nothing like what we're seeing so far. But they aren't that far behind or that far off the mark, I don't think. You know what I'm saying? Well, moving through the article, Chicago Bulls, lessons after 1 month. They could be a potential trade destination. This is where it gets juicy. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, the Bulls are in a fascinating in-between place. Coach Billy Donovan has done a great job with this group, but the Bulls lack a star to build around. Second year forward Matas Buzeles has shown intriguing flashes, and the club has the ability to open a bunch of cap space this summer, but Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic are set to become free agents. That means the Bulls could go in a few directions over the next several months, including adding to the roster. That has led some sources to speculate whether Chicago, with over $80 million in expiring money, could be a suitor for Dallas's Anthony Davis and bring the Windy City native home. Let that sink in for a second. I could see it, said a West executive who saw Chicago play recently. Josh Giddey has worked well with Vucevic, but he could use a roll man to throw it up to. Man, let me say that it had been a percolating thought for me, I'll say, right? That, man, quite frankly, I believe, I just like kind of really feel in my soul that Anthony Davis is going to, sign with or you know what I mean, like seek a trade to get home to end his career. It's almost over for AD. You know what I'm saying? We're not sure how his body's going to continue to hold up, how much longer he has in the league, but I think that playing in a Bulls jersey, playing for his hometown team is definitely a goal for him, and I can see it happening. This was before I even read this article. Actually, saw something as we move on and talk about Dallas. I saw this post on YouTube in the ESPN community section just yesterday that said Mavs will explore trade market for Anthony Davis. Multiple team sources said the Mavs, who are 4-11 and outside of playoff picture in the West, will explore a trade market for Anthony Davis before the season's deadline as part of Dallas's directional pivot around Cooper Flag. That was according to Tim McMahon. What I don't like is how most of the talking heads in the legacy media, like mainstream media, and some folks on YouTube are talking about now how stupid Dallas are. Like, man, it was done in there, dumpster fire. Like, what were they thinking? Yada, yada, yada. Like, I was literally saying that when they traded Luka for Anthony Davis in the beginning. And folks were on TV talking about it was an even trade. I think Dallas won the trade. Like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? It was so weird. I was like, bro, that was the dumbest fucking trade. And to me, even though I'm like, well, all right. You know what I mean? Like, let's just play and live in the land of fairy tale, and hypothetical. You know what I mean? Like, if AD can somehow stay healthy, but he came into the season like 20 pounds heavier, go figure. He's trying to Zion Williamson his way out of Dallas. If they could just play solid and then get Kyrie back potentially after All-Star break, leading into the stretch run of the playoffs. I was like, man, maybe they can make a little bit of noise in the West. But this team has no plans of doing anything but restructuring and structuring a solid team now in the developmental phase of the Cooper Cup era. So it is what it is. Moving on. Also, a post that I saw attached to that photo was the Mavs are plotting to pivot to the future with 18-year-old Cooper Flag, the number one pick, delivered to Dallas by unprecedented lottery luck. Get to the new ownership group a second chance to build a sustainable contender around a generational talent. You know my saying, bro, is like, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. You know what I'm saying? Like, the number one pick delivered to Dallas. Delivered is the right word. Delivered to Dallas by unprecedented lottery luck is bullshit. They don't let us see the ping pong balls when they pop up. Man, we know that you know what I mean? Like, that whole system is rigged anyway. The lottery system is fucking rigged as much as the table games and the slot machines at casinos. It's like, come on, bro. We know what's good. You know what I mean? Like, Dallas got the stimulus package with the number one pick for packaging Luka and Anthony Davis in a swap to get the star power that is Luka Doncic out to LA to help sustain them long term. Because quite frankly, man, when the Lakers are good, the ratings are good in the NBA. That's just a reality. They're good for the NBA. They're a story franchise, second most story franchise in the NBA. And so, man, Boston should be good for the foreseeable future. Doesn't make sense to have the Lakers fall off. So, you know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. I get it. You know what I mean? Just don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. And so I just hate silly shit like that. So again, an Anthony Davis trade won't be easy as we move on to talk about Dallas and back to the article. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, as ESPN's Tim McMahon reported Wednesday, the Mavericks are expected to explore a Dallas trade between now and February's trade deadline, something rival teams expect to happen too. The problem for the Mavericks is that any potential return will be something more akin to the Kevin Durant trade to Houston, a couple of solid players and a draft pick, than, say, the Rudy Gobert or Donovan Mitchell trades out of Utah a couple years ago that each netted the Jazz control over several first-round selections. With a lack of picks around the league now, that's what you should expect for a Davis deal, a West Scout said. Lack of picks around the league because fucking Oklahoma City is cleaned up on everybody's picks. They gonna put some kind of rule in the CBA about this shit, bro. I promise you. Man, they have so many first-round picks that continue to get better and better and better every year while they are great. But I ain't talking about Oklahoma City yet. I just wanted to say it because they mentioned all the draft picks. Several other sources struggle to produce a deep list of suitors for Davis, who is set to make 54.1, 58.4, and 62.7 million across the next 3 seasons. Man, AD about to get that fucking guap. That's 160. Man, that's 170. Man, that's 170, $475,000 this dude's set to continue to make. I ain't pocket watching. I'm just saying because they put it in the article. You know what I'm saying? Let me hold $5, AD. Moving on to Denver. Lessons after 1 month. Late season Jamal Murray has arrived early. This is exciting to me, man. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, Murray has long been seen by opposing scouts and executives as a player who eases his way into the season. But if the guard's first handful of games is any indication, Murray could be changing that narrative. The 28-year-old is averaging a career-high 22.5 points. Production Denver will need to continue with Christian Brown out until around New Year with a serious left ankle sprain. He's moving well. His body looks good. Pause. I've been impressed with him, an Eastern Conference scout said. He's been a huge part of their hot start. They're in the inner circle of contenders in large part because of the work he's been doing next to Jokic. Man, Jamal Murray is a certified bucket. If you guys have been just watching basketball, just go back a few years, go back to the bubble when him and Spider Mitchell were going at it and just, man, dropping 50 on each other. It was crazy. This dude can literally play, man. So to me also, I am excited to see him get off to a great start because he I don't know, it seems like he just comes in unmotivated or maybe like severely out of shape, and it takes him so long to ramp up that then he gets to that end of the season and then he's like kind of nicked up. It's just really weird. So maybe I think he might have played this summer, you know what I mean, like overseas or something like that, to get himself into or keep himself in basketball shape and get himself into like some tip-top shape early. Or if he didn't even, man, you know what I mean? Like, man, whatever he did to change his regimen, I'm excited about it because it is definitely helping out the red hot Denver Nuggets. We'll get into the standings here in just a bit. But back to the article, let's talk about Detroit. Detroit basketball. Yo, Detroit is cranking right now. You know what I'm saying? Those Pistons are fire. Lessons after 1 month. Jaylen Duren made the right decision. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, there was virtually no talk of Duren and Detroit getting a deal done heading into the league's rookie extension deadline, October the 20th, with sources saying at the time that the two sides were pretty far apart in price. Duren has responded with the best month of his career, with not only career highs in points, 20.6, and rebounds, 11.9 per game, but also a significant defensive improvement. Duren, after allowing 62% shooting at the rim last season, is down to 53% this season. That has led to league insiders putting him firmly in the running for most improved player and projecting a nice payday when he becomes a restricted free agent in July. Get your money, Jaylen. Wishing you, man, health, wealth, you know what I'm saying? Man, good health, certainly throughout the season so that you can get your bag at the end. Man, Jaylen Duren is like a big body, very gifted basketball player on the inside. You know what I mean? Nice little touch, man, from the mid-range. So I want to see this kid continue to improve as a basketball player, obviously to play a very long time in this league. But what he is doing in Detroit and what he is helping Detroit do right now is insanity, bro. Detroit came out the gate not playing. Remembering last season, the Detroit Pistons were the most, you know, I mean, like literally the most improved team. Like coming out, they won, or I think they set a record for how many wins they achieved after not making the playoffs the year prior. So, you know what I mean? You expected them to come out and be really solid this year also, building upon what they did last year, but nothing like what they have produced so far. When I get into the standings, it'll make sense. Moving right through the article into Golden State. Man, free Jonathan Kaminga, bro. The Kaminga situation remains unresolved. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, it wouldn't be a Warriors season without drama surrounding the future of Kaminga, who, as ESPN's Anthony Slater reported, remains in limbo with the team, while Kaminga's role has again fluctuated from starter to reserve before dealing with a knee issue. The same underlying inconsistencies that have followed him through his first few years have cropped up yet again. He is who he is, even though he's on the younger side, an East scout said. He's looked better and has been trying to fit in, but he still falls back into his old habits. The calculus for a potential Kaminga trade remains complicated since Golden State isn't going to give him away. And with the Warriors being right up against the second apron, there's difficulty in finding value for him and a team that will acquire the 23-year-old. Who's going to take him? The scout said. Are they going to move him for stuff they don't want or just wait? It's very hard to find a trade that makes sense for everyone. And so again, man, I was excited to see Kaminga finally come to contractual terms with Golden State. I was happy to see how he started the season, but you know what I mean? Like Bontemps is right, and that scout is right, man. He's falling right back into he's just a roller coaster of a player. At some point, you kind of have to stop blaming it on the age. But I understand how the motivation can work also when you feel like you ain't jiving with the coaching staff. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know what I mean? Like it could be one of those situations where he just doesn't feel welcome. And Jimmy Butler actually kind of spoke out and spoke to that. Like, I know what it feels like to be in an environment where you're not on a team. You know what I mean? Where you just feel like you don't fit in, or where you're not welcome, or where you're not like a part of what's going on, man. It's tough. Speaking to, you know, how he felt in Miami. And so there's a lot more going on with this situation than I think is being reported. But man, hey, that's what's happening in Golden State. And Golden State is certainly kind of struggling. They're not performing the way that I thought they would perform out the gate this season. I'm moving right along to the Houston Rockets. Less than after 1 month, Houston has a chance to be the best offensive rebounding team ever. What I'm hearing, the Rockets are grabbing more than 2 out of every 5 shots they miss. To put their absurd 40.5% offensive rebound rate into perspective, the gap between Houston and second place Portland is the same as between the Trailblazers and the 16th place Nets. No team since the 96-97 has eclipsed 38% across a full season. This is how the Rockets have the league's best offense while being dead last in three-point shooting volume as the only team taking fewer than 30 per game. So Houston has looked very impressive this season. From what I've seen so far in the games that they've played, man, their ability to offensive rebound is crazy. I mean, they have like just insane length. I remember they decided to do kind of lean on the old school double big lineup, which, you know what I mean, like makes sense in a small ball league. Man, you mean, throw your trees out there and let them snag all the boards. You know what I'm saying? Force the teams to play their bigs or to go out and get some. So I like the way that Ime Udoka is utilizing his personnel, and so far, man, so good. The Kevin Durant experiment seems to be working. They lost Van Vliet, you know what I mean, to the knee surgery, so he's done for the rest of the year. They definitely still need a facilitator, so I expect them to, if they don't kind of find their way, like with the personnel they presently have, to definitely go out and try to find somehow just a decent facilitator for them, which, you know, could help them. I mean, obviously in distribution could help, you know, kind of set some guys up for better three-point shots so that their three-point shooting percentage and volume can go up. But moving back into the article, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers lesson after 1 month. It's a good time for a gap year. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, it was expected that Indiana would take a step back with All-Star guy Tyrese Halliburton sidelined for the season with a torn Achilles and center Miles Turner leaving for Milwaukee as a free agent. But no one could have predicted this start for the defending East champs, who have begun with a rash of injuries beyond Halliburton. The Pacers have the worst offense in the league with the second worst net rating ahead of only Washington. The consolation for Indy is that after acquiring its 2026 draft pick from New Orleans in June, the team can look forward to land an elite prospect next spring. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Miles Turner leaving obviously sucked. I thought it was really weird that he wanted to go to Milwaukee. I thought it was weird that he wanted to leave, but maybe just didn't feel like he fit in anymore. Maybe he wanted more money. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that Miles Turner staying while Halliburton was hurt was going to make that much of a difference. You know what I mean? Halliburton's their engine, literally. This kid, as I was talking about, a facilitator. He's a bona fide facilitator. Showed himself to be a bona fide bucket last year also. I mean, almost, dare I say, deadly from the outside, hitting clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot when they needed it from deep. He's got a really weird looking jump shot, but man, look, when they need him, he hits them. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. But again, yeah, Indiana's totally struggling, man. This season has to be expected, so I won't belabor the point. Sorry, Indy fans. Y'all trash this year. Moving on to the LA Clippers. You can get old fast in the NBA. I don't think that this is they got old fast. I think they've been getting old for a couple years. You know what I'm saying? The injuries haven't helped them any. You know what I mean? Like, as the player continues to age, the injury, man, Kawhi's getting up there in age. You know what I'm saying? He's mid-30s, 34, 35 years old at this point, man. So these injuries aren't going to get any easier. You take on a Chris Paul, you take on a Brook Lopez. It's like you're just adding old pieces. You know what I'm saying? And so Norman Powell, pretty much, was like their saving grace last year when, you know, early part of the season, he was able to break out because Kawhi was hurt. Remember? You know what I'm saying? And so absent Norman Powell, who's in Miami now, They are who they are. But according to the article in Tim Bontemps, what he's hearing, entering the season, the Clippers were seen by plenty of scouts and executives I spoke with as the better team in Los Angeles. Praise for essentially replacing the departed Norman Powell with John Collins and Bradley Beal, and then signing Brook Lopez and Chris Paul to buttress their depth. But Beal is out for the season with a hip injury. And Brad's been banged up for like the last 3-4 seasons, bro. It's crazy. And Lopez and Paul have looked every bit of 37 and 40 years old, respectively. It all has left the Clippers, with Kawhi Leonard, once again injured, in a position where they could send an unprotected lottery pick to the Thunder next spring, as the Paul George trade keeps on giving to the defending champions. I told y'all. Oklahoma City cleaning up on them picks, man. It's crazy. But yeah, the Clippers, I did expect the Clippers to be the better team in LA this year, I think. In my premature preseason predictions episode, rightfully so, I put them like right above LA, or right above the Lakers, rather, at like the number 4 seed to end the season. Lakers will finish somewhere around number 5, I thought. Not the case. I was wrong, and don't mind saying it. Moving on to the Lakers as I bring them up. Lesson, after 1 month, they're good, but how good? What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, it has been a fascinating opening month in LA. Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves have put up gigantic numbers, and LeBron James has basically missed all of it. Remembering he's only played one game. He just played a couple nights ago. They don't play again until Sunday. As I produce this episode, DeAndre Ayton has been productive, but the Lakers are several points better per 100 possessions with him on the bench than they are with him on the court. Opponents are having a field day at the rim, with the Lakers giving up 69% shooting inside of 5 feet, 4th worst in the NBA. While they have an 11-4 record, they have middling overall efficiency numbers, 11th in offense, 17th in defense, 14th in net rating. Added up. And while it has been an impressive opening few weeks in the standings, it's still unclear just how high this team's ceiling really is, which was reflected in conversations this week with sources around the league. Sticking with the Lakers, are they up there with Oklahoma City, Denver, and Houston? No, and these scouts said, but they're clearly in the top 6. Their depth overall isn't good, but their top line talent makes them a team I wouldn't want to see in the playoffs. A West scout, though, was much more optimistic. Their top 3 for sure. This West scout thought, when you have Luka, you're always going to be in the mix. Top 3 in the West? I mean, the way Luka and Austin have been playing, they could very well could be. No disparaging remarks for the Lakers, man. I'm impressed with what they've been doing so far this season. I certainly am. But moving on to the Grizzlies, Ja Morant isn't the same player. Poor Ja, man. I don't know what's going on with Ja. Initially, I was thinking that Ja needs a change of scenery. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, man, maybe his motivation to play has been a bit affected also. You know what I mean? But maybe it's just Memphis. Maybe he just needs to get out of Memphis. He needs a fresh start. Or maybe he's just not motivated to play basketball anymore. Maybe, just maybe. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the money and all that stuff is great, but it's just not, you know what I mean? All the criticism, the conflicting lifestyle decisions and choices that he's made, maybe just, man, it feels like he's good. You know what I mean? I'm good on basketball. I don't want to play no more. You know what I'm saying? Perhaps it's possible. But what I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, there's one very easy to prove the above, or there's one very easy way rather to prove the above statement. The percentage of Morant's shots that are taken inside of 3 feet. That number, per Basketball Reference, has gone from 39.6% of his shots as a high-flying rookie down to a remarkable 15.4% this season, and has dropped in each of his 7 seasons. I will say to that stat, from, getting, literally you can round up to 40% of his shots, you know what I mean, like being taken inside of 3 feet as a rookie, having that number go down. Ja Morant played just visibly, you could see he's playing at that breakneck speed, breakneck pace, sacrifice your body pace of an Allen Iverson and of dare I say, like a Dwayne Wade, certainly Derrick Rose. You know what I'm saying? So certainly those players that I mentioned, their bodies, man, they broke down naturally. Man, a player of that stature, you know what I mean? I think Derrick Rose obviously was a bit stronger. You know what I mean? But in terms of kind of physical, but yeah, man, your body keeps slamming against that floor, man. With such a small frame, eventually, man, you're gonna break it. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna break it, and you're certainly not gonna last and have a very long shelf life in the league. But back to the other article, given Morant hasn't improved as a shooter, He was an abysmal 10 for 60 from three before his latest calf injury. It's easy to see why he's not the same player who electrified the league and appeared to have Memphis on a championship caliber trajectory a few short years ago. Sources expect Memphis to explore the trade market for Morant, but like Davis, believe it'll be difficult to get value for him. I do think they'll move him, a West Scout said. So maybe, with that, we can expect some kind of a blockbuster, 4, 5, 6 team deal that involves both Anthony Davis and Ja Morant, and some other teams to help to make it all make sense. Clearly, it's on the table. I didn't say it. Tim Bontemps, that exec from the West, said so. Moving back to the article, last year was no fluke for Norman Powell. Brought him up. Let's talk about him in Miami. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, there's been plenty of discussion about Miami's new offensive system, but no one has taken to it more than Powell. When the Clippers chose not to extend him this past summer and sent him to Miami in a 3-team deal that saw the Heat land him for almost nothing, it was seen as a win-win for both sides. But even the most optimistic Heat partisans would have had a hard time envisioning how Powell has taken to life on the shores of Biscayne Bay, where he's averaging a career-high 25.5 points on an absurd 46% from three, and has kept Miami in the top 10 on offense with Tyler Hero yet to play this season, and Bam Adebayo missing a good chunk of it. Man, I know one thing. If Norman Powell isn't voted in as an all-star this season, bro, y'all playing, bro. Y'all playing with that man life. Seriously. He averaging almost 26 points a game and is helping to spearhead the Miami push, much like he was doing as a value piece in LA last year. So certainly no fluke. Moving on through the article, Giannis has been the NBA's MVP. Let's talk Milwaukee. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, through the opening month of the season, when Antetokounmpo has been on the court, the Bucks have had an offensive rating of 123.5 points per 100 possessions, the equivalent of the NBA's best offense. When he's been off it, however, Milwaukee has had an offensive rating of 102 points per 100 possessions, a couple of points lower than the league's 30th ranked team, the Pacers. So when Giannis is on the team, man, they have the best offensive rating. And then when he's off, they have the worst. That is crazy. With Antetokounmpo sidelined for up to 2 weeks with a growing strain, Coach Doc Rivers must figure out a system that will prop up this group without its star. Pad sources believe will be tough for them to navigate. Of course not. One executive said bluntly when asked if they believe Milwaukee could stay afloat without Antetokounmpo, pointing to the lack of other on-ball creators on the roster. Yeah, it remains to be seen how they'll produce points. Man, Kyle Kuzma will definitely have to take a giant step. Like I said, I like Kevin Porter Jr. I really love the kid Ryan Rollins and what he's been doing so far this season. Miles Turner will basically have to become Giannis, you know what I'm saying, while Giannis is out. So it will take a lot. You know what I mean? It would take a lot for them to stay afloat, but hopefully in this Eastern Conference and, against the other formidable opponents in the West, they'll be able to figure it out. You know what I mean? I think they were off to a great start, obviously, man. Giannis too has been, just banged up a lot over the last couple of seasons, man. So maybe this is just a sign that much like, those smaller frame guys that I was talking about, man, when you're as athletic as him and you're out there just as aggressive and playing as aggressive as he plays downhill, man, and the body's subject to breakdown. But moving on to the article, let's talk Minnesota. Lessons after 1 month. Rob Dillingham remains a work in progress. Got a chance to watch Minnesota take on the Phoenix Suns. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona, man. So, yeah, I got a chance to catch the game. And, man, an incredible game. An incredible display, in that game last night. So Phoenix jumped out to an 18-point lead in the first half. And, basically, man, Minnesota walked that shit. They were down by 9 or something like that going into the half. You know what I mean? Maybe between 9 and 11. I can't really remember. But I know that they weren't down that much. They weren't down by the 18 that they were down before. And then in the second half, Minnesota would take the lead. Rob Dillingham actually shot pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So he did knock down a couple threes. He kind of flops around like fish out of water out there. You know what I'm saying? To their point of wanting to bring him up. I'm just saying. But back to the article. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, when Minnesota swung a bold draft night deal in 2024 to jump to number 8 and take Dillingham, it envisioned the team's point guard of the future to replace Mike Conley. But while Conley has shifted to the bench this season, it's been in favor of Dante DiVincenzo. Dillingham's minutes have been a struggle. The second-year guard is shooting 39% overall, 23% from three, and is being outscored by 14 points per 100 possessions in the Timberwolves' more than 100 minutes with him on the court, a staggering 24-point swing from the plus 10 net rating they have in the over 500 minutes with him on the bench. I'm not sure that's ever going to work. And East Coast Scout said maybe things come around, but it's hard to see it. So again, man, I don't know what the deal is with Rob Dillingham. I mean, like I said, he played well last night in the Phoenix game, knocked down 2 trays. You know, like I said, man, kind of flopped around a little bit, a little like a fish out of water, man. But I think that the perfect cure for Rob Dillingham, especially with his talent, his skill set, and his ability, is to just let the kid play. He's going to need to actually play. You know what I mean? Like a kid like this should be playing basketball, not, you know what I mean, the little Make-A-Wish kid, you know, situation, that kid in LA. But like this kid should actually be playing. But moving on through the article. And the New Orleans Pelicans, less than after 1 month, they are what the league thought they were. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, as the Pelicans have careened through the opening month of the season, going 2-13, and firing Coach Willie Green. Fuck, they fired Willie Green for? Well, it wasn't really Willie's fault. Well, maybe it was Willie's fault. Sources around the league have continued to express bewilderment in New Orleans not only deciding to trade Atlanta its unprotected draft pick in 2026, but also to give Indiana back its selection, which happened just before Halliburton tore an Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. In an alternate reality, the Pelicans have 2 lottery picks and a loaded draft to add to their core. Instead, a season spiraling out of control won't come with any benefit. And while sources have been impressed with the team's 2 lottery picks, Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, both have performed well enough to crack the starting lineup, it doesn't make the sting hurt any less. Yeah, it's kind of wild. And they could have had like 2 first-round draft picks, you know, coming into this draft here. In addition to just, like I said, having picked up Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen last year, but they decided to deal those away. Team's just looking like ass so far. And yeah, it is what it is. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, man. Moving right along to the New York Knicks. Less than after 1 month, the offense is still good, but different. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps this summer, new Knicks coach Mike Brown repeatedly talked about wanting to add more ball movement and three-point shooting to New York's offensive arsenal. A month in, he has done that. The Knicks, after being in the top half of the league in passes per game only once in the 5 years under Tom Thibodeau, ranked 5th this season and jumped from 27th in threes attempted per game last season to 3rd. Sources have praised New York's offensive changes, and with the Eastern Conference more than up for grabs, the Knicks are betting on those changes and possibly reaching the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. A little lofty, you know what I'm saying? I like Mike Brown as a coach, don't get me wrong. I think Mike Brown is one of the most underrated, you know what I mean, like coaches in throughout his history as a coach in the league. But is he the answer to get New York over the hump? Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, remains to be seen. And I'm not going to cast gloom and doom over them and be like, no, that'll never happen. I'm just saying lofty, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see what happens. Moving right on through the article, getting to the Oklahoma City Thunder, man, 70 wins is absolutely in play for OKC. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, is Oklahoma City continues to mow through the opposition to start the season. It is winning by an average of 15.9 points. Rival scouts and executives have marveled at the way the Thunder machine keeps rolling and polling several sources on whether it was realistic that the Thunder could become the 3rd team in NBA history to win 70 games in a regular season. I didn't receive a single no. I'll give you another one if you want. Nah. It's not outlandish or ridiculous. The only thing standing in the Thunder's way, according to those sources, whether Oklahoma City would prioritize going for 70, considering the team has begun the season 16-1 now and has a staggering net rating of 15.3, almost 3 points per 100 possessions better than last year's record-setting mark. All without All-NBA forward Jalen Williams, the Thunder might not need to make it a priority. To back this up, here's a remarkable stat. ESPN Basketball Power Index favors Oklahoma City to win every single game for the rest of the season. That's crazy, yo. But Oklahoma City is playing, just dominant this season so far. Without Jalen Williams, as Tim Bontemps pointed out there, still recovering from wrist surgery in the offseason, so he has yet to make an appearance. Man, dare I say they don't even need him. With him, they're just that much better. You know what I'm saying? But clearly, they've been able to rip off 16 wins in 17 games this season without him, man. So this team is just a very young, spry, athletic, gifted, chemistry to boot. They are amazing. They are a very well-oiled machine, a cohesive unit, functioning towards a goal. And so to answer the executives, like, maybe they won't prioritize winning 70, like, bullshit. I think these kids want to win 70. And I also believe that they will win 70, yo. I don't think that they just want to win 70 games. I think they want to be even though they won a championship last year, conventional wisdom might tell you, nah, bro, they just going to, you know what I mean? Like try to stay healthy down the stretch and save all their energy for the playoffs for that stretch. These kids they're kids, yo. They're young. They're like ignorance on fire. They ain't thinking like that. They just love hooping. So they got the energy. They have the youth on their side. They just like to get up and down and run. And they got depth. You know what I mean? To allow them to do so. One man goes down, next man up. That's how it is, yo. I think that holds firm for everybody but Shea going down. God forbid Shea should get. You know what I'm saying? But my point is, so I think that they not only want to win 70, but I think they want to be the all-time winning team in the history of the NBA, coming off of winning a championship. I think for them, that's a bigger deal than winning another championship. Honestly, I think that it is. I think they want to win 74 games, 75 games, or something crazy. I really do. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I could be wrong, but we'll see how it goes. I do think that it is very strong likelihood that they will win 70 games, man. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Moving on to Orlando. Less than after 1 month, Desmond Bane couldn't fix this offense by himself. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, one of the NBA's most remarkable stats is that the Magic haven't finished inside the top 20 in offense rating since the 2011-12 season. Acquiring Bane this summer was supposed to change that. Instead, he's gotten off to a slow start, shooting a career low of 31.5% from three on the second lowest number of attempts, 4.9, of his career. The result, Orlando is sitting at number 20 offensively. That, coupled with a 1-4 start, had some sources briefly wondering how hot the seat of Coach Jamal Mosley is getting, but that was before Orlando ripped off wins in 5 of its past 6 games. Bane has started to get more comfortable, including scoring at least 22 points in 5 of the Magic's past 8 contests. Sources are still monitoring what happens as Orlando heads into a stretch featuring 9 straight games against teams currently above 500, which could either reignite questions about this team's direction or squash them completely. I was definitely shocked to see Orlando get off to a 1-4 start. I was like, bro, I had them being one of the playoff teams here, like a bona fide playoff team in the Eastern Conference. And so for them to start 1-4, obviously knowing it's only been 5 games, you know what I mean, to start the season, I was like, bro, that's crazy. That's what I wasn't expecting that. And then so to see them rip off a couple wins, now having them up against, you know, some formidable opponents coming up as playoff, you know, teams that are above 500 so far over the next 8 games or so. It's going to be really interesting to see. Hopefully this team is rounded into form. Certainly looks like it. You know what I mean? Having put some wins together and yeah, just kind of get that feel good happening. So we'll see what happens with them. I'll definitely keep my eye on them. I'm certain that you guys will as well. Desmond Bane, I was excited. If you refer back to my premature preseason predictions episode, I was excited to see how Desmond Bane fit. I was certainly saying he needed a change of scenery from Memphis. And so to see him in Orlando playing alongside Paolo Banchero, playing with Franz Wagner, etc., man, I was just like, man, this should be a good or a very interesting, you know, kind of a pairing to see. So I'm glad to see that he's hitting stride. Finally, moving through the article, Philadelphia 76ers, Philly, stand up. These motherfucking Philadelphia 76ers, namely Tyrese Maxey, you know what I mean, namely VJ Edgecombe, you know what I'm saying, been playing great. But not only them, less than after 1 month, Quentin Grimes is a 6th Man of the Year candidate. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, as Kaminga's restricted free agency saga was making headlines, Grimes' negotiations with the 76ers barely created a ripple. At the time, the team and league sources said the 76ers were maintaining future flexibility, with Grimes signing the $8.7 million qualifying offer kept Philly below the first apron and within a few million of the luxury tax line. Grimes, meanwhile, has picked up where he left off last spring after arriving in Philadelphia in the other trade former Mavericks GM Nico Harrison made in February. Dumbass Nico Harrison. Averages 17.1 points and 40.9% from 3. Grimes should be in line for a very nice payday as an unrestricted free agent next summer, something he is already looking for after changing representation and signing with CAA earlier this month. Get your money, young Quentin Grimes. Excited to see you doing your thing out there in Philly, man. Like I said, man, Philly, stand up, bro. Philly has definitely been one of those shocking and surprising teams for me this season. I'm not sure about you guys, but I was expecting Tyrese Maxey to come out the gate and have a phenomenal season, potentially lead the league in scoring, I said, last year. You know what I'm saying? And then so to see him kind of hit a stride this year, maybe he went back and looked at my old episode and was like, damn, he right. I should have with Joel in and out. I just do my thing. Like, it's your team now, bro. It's your team now. I said it. Moving back to the article, talking about, man, the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix, stand up, man. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Lesson, after 1 month, there's an early season identity, bro. Certainly fucking is. Again, I got a chance to take a look at the Minnesota and And Phoenix game last night, man, just a phenomenal contest. This Phoenix team definitely has a fucking identity early, bro. Some toughness is amazing. But what I'm hearing, according to this article and Tim Bontemps, after the disastrous way last season played out, and as a precursor to moving on from Durant and Bill over the summer, Suns owner Matt Ishbia declared that his team needed to have an identity, one that included some grit, some determination, some work ethic, some grind, some joy. It's early, but the Suns have at least begun to follow through on that vision with their 10-6 start. Phoenix has one victory or two victories now over an opponent above 500, but scouts I've talked to have praised new coach Jordan Ott's work and surrounding Devin Booker, who is back playing like an all-NBA player after a down 24-25 season with hard-nosed defenders and some shooting is a formula that could allow Phoenix to sneak into the playoffs in the incredibly soft bottom half of the West. Shout out to Jordan Ott, who it seems like these guys definitely respect. You know what I'm saying? He seemed very poised. I like the way that he leads. This is just visible. I didn't hear anything, couldn't hear specifically what he was saying to the team last night. But man, for them to jump out to an 18-point lead in the first half, to squander that lead, and then have the Minnesota Timberwolves go up by like 9 in the second half. Not only that, to go up by like I want to say six or 7 points in the last minute of the game. And to watch Phoenix battle back in the last minute to take that game last night, bro, was, I mean, just the way the guys played, the toughness and the grit that they showed, the cohesiveness and togetherness that they showed. I think everybody selling out on every play. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you could just tell that they have each other's back. You can't fake that kind of camaraderie and brotherhood. You either have it or you don't, bro. And they've tapped into it. I haven't seen it for a very long time in Phoenix, man. So I'm excited to see it. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Dev can be a 1A to a team, even though he played like ass last night. You know what I mean? But the team still figured it out, man. In fact, Devin Booker fouled out, and so did Dylan Brooks. You know what I'm saying? They both fouled out. Devin fouled out about 3.5 minutes to go in the game. It's crazy, right? But back to the article. Considering where the Suns were last season, that will be a huge win. They've been way better than I thought. A West Scout said they've got enough pieces around Devin where they'll win the games they should win. Ott has them playing the right way and competing, as I alluded to, man, certainly does. Shout out to Royce O'Neal. Shout out to Chris Dunn. Shout out to my guy, Colin Gillespie, who I'm a fan of from like games that I went to last season, just watching him play. I was like, man, this kid can really play. I don't know where he played his college ball. I can look it up, but I don't want to. But because the kid is actually a really good NBA player, man. And last night he actually hit the game winner, hit a bunch of clutch threes for him throughout the game. Just had a solid game overall. I think he ended the game with like 21 points or something like that. So no, I ain't talking about like no little kid coming off the bench giving you 9-10 points. Like Colin Gillespie can hoop, bro. A little undersized, but he can fucking ball. So shout out to Phoenix, for that. As I say that, moving right along back through the article, let's talk about the Portland fucking Trailblazers, bro. Deni Avdija might be an all-star. I think they are correct. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, when Portland acquired Avdija on draft night in 2024 from the Wizards for a couple of first-round picks, it was met with confusion by sources around the league, given how far away the Blazers were from contention at the time. But after Avdija took a step forward last season in his first campaign in the Pacific Northwest, he has made a gigantic leap through the first 15 games this season. Bro, this dude he playing like a bona fide star in this league so far. If you haven't checked out any highlights, maybe you haven't seen any Portland games, you're just like, why the fuck would I watch a Portland game? But just YouTube right now, man, some Deni Avdija highlights, bro. This dude's a fucking beast. He out there cooking this year. He's averaging 25.9 points, almost 10 more than his previous high, and is smack in the middle of the all-star conversation. Portland, 6-9, has put itself in position to be a play-in team. He's been awesome. A West Scout said of Avdija, who already has tied Damian Lillard for the second most 30-point triple-doubles in Blazers history. According to ESPN research, he's much better than I thought he was going to be when Portland traded for him. In just one season and 15 games, this dude has already tied the Portland record for most 30-point triple-doubles. He's tied for second place with Dame Lillard. Man, I think he's going to break that record clearly this year, you know what I'm saying? Or at least past, you know what I mean? Dame will knock Dame down to third. Then you better hurry up and come back, bro. And I don't know what you got left in the tank, but Deni about to be already a legend in Portland. Crazy. Moving right through the article. Let's look at Sacramento. Lesson after 1 month. It's time to start over. Damn, Sack. Sorry, bro. I was hot. Like, they were out there lighting the beam that's 2 years ago. It was all good just 2 seasons ago, bro. And they've gone from that to, holy shit. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, not only did Sacramento fall to 3-12 after Wednesday's loss at Oklahoma City, but Coach Doug Christie also removed Zach LaVine from the starting lineup. It was the latest low moment in a season full of them for the Kings, who've already benched the team's top summer acquisition, Dennis Schroeder, for Russell Westbrook, and getting demolished defensively. Sources have been openly wondering about Christie's long-term job status as things have fallen apart. He was given a permanent job over the summer, as well as whether Sacramento could begin to trade some of its high-priced veteran talent, assuming there are any takers for LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, or Domantas Sabonis, who's out at least several weeks with a partially torn meniscus, ESPN Charm Sharoni reported on Thursday. They're a disaster. Damn, they're a disaster. And East Coast scouts said they're going nowhere fast. They just have to put a rock on the accelerator and keep going into the tank. They're expensive, bad, and aging. And I agree. I agree with that exact 100%. And I don't think it's going to be easy to move off of any of that old talent because, you know what I mean? They're making too much money, bro. Like these teams are, now being hampered by that second apron. They're not so apt to go over, that luxury tax line and have to spend any additional money for no reason. I don't see teams, Like, I think Sacramento's going to be stuck with all that bullshit that they took from Chicago. Sorry. Here's what it is. Moving right on through the article, Stephon Castle has made a leap, bro. Yes, he has. Let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, the big question surrounding San Antonio before the season centered around how the team's three high-profile guards, Castle, rookie number 2 pick Dylan Harper, and February trade acquisition De'Aaron Fox, would fit together. And that's still a lingering question, as there hasn't been a single game yet where all three have been available. But Castle, at least before recently exiting the lineup with a hip injury, has made a significant leap. At last season's rookie of the year, is averaging 17.3 points, 7.5 assists, and 1.7 steals. One sign for concern, though, he's under 25% from three and 70% from the foul line, highlighting the biggest concern scouts have had about playing him. Harper and Fox, none is an above average shooter. Man, you really don't have to be an above average shooter when you got Wembanyama out there. Honestly, I think much like the production he's putting up, you can average 17 points. You know what I mean? Like while shooting piss poor from threes, definitely got knocked out some free throws. You know what I'm saying? But I think the average will go up, obviously from 25. That's ridiculous from three, but you know what I mean? Like if he can just get somewhere around 30, 32, 33 is like league average. He'll be fine. Wemby's that dude, bro. Wemby's that dude. So any of the guard play, mid-range jump shots they can knock down, get into the basket, etc. Man, hitting from the outside, enough of them from the outside when they have them, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I ain't buying it. I'm buying San Antonio stock rather. But speaking of Toronto as lip slip, here we go. Lesson after 1 month: depth can create wins. Fucking Toronto is finally not making me look crazy. They say a clock is right, or a broke clock is right twice a day, right? So for coming into last season, I predicted, man, I'm like, Scotty Barnes, y'all, I'm high on Scotty Barnes, blah, 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 blah. I was thinking that they would be much better last season, but they weren't. This season, coming into this season, they came in with my homie Brandon Ingram, though. And so I was for certain riding high, you know what I'm saying? And buying the Toronto Raptors stock coming into the season, and they have not disappointed. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, between moving on from longtime lead executive Masai Ujiri, this being Coach Darko Rajkovic's third season, the Brandon Ingram trade and extension in February, and new ownership taking over next year, the belief around the league entering this season was that the Raptors needed to make progress early on. Toronto has delivered in large part by having a mostly full, healthy rotation of players for Rajakovic. The team's top 4 players, Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quigley, and RJ Barrett, have played in all 15 games, and their other 10 players have missed only a handful of games combined in a league where there's been an epidemic of injuries early. Just starting with the same group daily is enough to give teams a leg up. The 10-5 Raptors have taken full advantage of it, moving up to second in the muddled East. Man, Toronto is playing some hoops early to start this season. Moving on to the Utah Jazz. Lesson after 1 month: Lauri Markkanen is back. What I'm hearing, according to Tim Bontemps, as the Jazz were fully invested in maximizing their draft positioning last season. Marketing took a significant step back from his 2023-2024 All-Star campaign, leading some sources around the league to wonder whether he had been a fluke. Instead, Marketing has been outstanding, averaging 30.6 points on 48.5% shooting, as Utah has gotten off to a respectable 5-9 start. The fact that he's under contract for another 3 seasons makes him a fascinating topic of potential trade discussions between now and February the 5th, one that sources around the league are monitoring closely. If Utah chooses to go that route, under the new president of basketball operations, Austin Ainge, there are few players who could become available who would have as big an impact as Marketing. He's putting up monster numbers. A West executive said they're running everything through him. If he goes to a place that he's an additive piece, you have to have the right team around him to go after him. Yeah, I don't know that Utah, the way that they are surging right now, I don't know that they would get rid of him. I think that if Utah's going to make any moves, they're going to make, continue to make moves to get younger and younger and build a young team following the blueprint of Oklahoma City. So just take my word on that one. I don't see Lauri Markkanen moving anywhere. And the day that Lauri Markkanen moves, I'll make an episode about it. Moving through the article on to the Washington Wizards in closing. Team number 30, lesson after 1 month. Keyshawn George is their best player. What I'm hearing according to Tim Bontemps, as the Wizards have torn down their roster and begin to build it up again over the past couple of seasons, they've leaned heavily into taking as many first-round talents to maximize their number of opportunities. Doing so is exactly what gave the Wizards the player who scouts and executives say is the best talent, George, who was taken with the 24th pick in last year's draft. The 6'7" forward is shooting 50% from the field, 45.5% from three, up from 32.2% as a rookie, and has quickly developed into one of few bright spots for a team that is clearly hoping to land at the top of the lottery next year after the disappointment of falling down to 6th this past spring. The play of George and seven-footer Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick of 2024, who has also made some strides this season, are the strands of optimism amid yet another dismal start, now 1-13, with a league worst negative 15.7 net rating. Don't expect anything from Washington, and so, thus so they are following the script. Tank your way all the way back to the lottery and build through the lottery. Follow the example of Oklahoma City, just like Utah. Build from the draft, bro. Get as many of the young players as you can. Try to build a good culture around them. Talk them into taking as much money as you can give them to keep them all under contract. That's how you build a team. Trying to chase these has-beens is ridiculous. Fuck them. Let them go. Let all the dinosaurs die, bro. That's just, it is what it is. So that has been that article, man. Like I said, it's a lot of insight, gave some insights into all 30 teams. And so really quickly, I wanted to take an opportunity to address the league standings, and then, man, I'll be out of your hair. So the next portion of the game plan is the standings. You know what I'm saying? And so in the Eastern Conference, as of the 21st, so as of last night's games, man, this is what the Eastern Conference looks like. This is what the Eastern Conference playoff picture actually looks like if the playoffs were to start today. Literally, this is what will be going down. The number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference presently is the Detroit Pistons at 13-2. Detroit basketball, 13-2, man. Cade Cunningham is a fucking beast. Trying to put some respect on Cade Cunningham's name as well, man. Cade is an animal, bro. Again, man, Toronto Raptors that I've been high on for a couple seasons, finally. You know what I mean? My guys have figured it out, man. 11-5. Cleveland sits at 11-6, third place. In fourth place is the Knicks at 9-5. The Miami Heat are presently number 5 seed at 10-6. The 6th seed right now in the East is the Philadelphia 76ers at 9-6. Atlanta Hawks, the banged up Atlanta Hawks, sit at 9-7. So do the Orlando Magic, so 7-8 there. Like I said, there's a tiebreaker situation for Atlanta, obviously, which just puts them at number 7 by themselves. But number 9 presently is the Chicago Bulls at 8-7. Anthony Davis's next home, back home. And then the number 10 seed, if the playoffs were to start today, that the 10 seed would be the Milwaukee Bucks, the severely hampered Milwaukee Bucks, doing it without Giannis Antetokounmpo for at least the next couple of weeks, sitting at 8-8. And so, man, we'll see. You know what I mean? Again, it remains to be seen kind of what happens in terms of Giannis' health. But just to address, again, man, the shakeup here in the Eastern Conference, I did have both Toronto and the Pistons making the playoffs, but I didn't have them at 1 and 2 where they presently sit. Let's see if they can maintain, that standing, through the remainder of, let's just say, this calendar year. Let's see how December fares for them. Say I'll do another such episode, man, at the beginning of the year. Man, maybe they'll still be up here, as they turn the corner and head into the All-Star break. That would be super to see. we're certainly expecting New York and Cleveland to be the class, Cleveland themselves to be the class of the Eastern Conference. So I'm still expecting them to finish, man, pretty high, top 3 or so, if not number 1 overall. They're not the same team as last year, not playing with the same fire, not playing with the same but that doesn't mean that they won't figure it out at some point. They are a well-coached unit, so we'll see how it goes. Again, New York's playing okay. You know what I mean? I expect them to, like I say, hit their stride too. Man, the surprise in this in this standing so far, obviously, is Miami without Tyler Hero, with Bam Adebayo being banged up. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you know what I mean? Norman Powell's been able to help to keep them a decent team, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Really interested, man. Philly, I didn't have Philly making the playoffs at all because I just don't believe in Joel Embiid, and I didn't imagine that Tyrese Maxey would finally listen to me and go for what he knows, but he's doing so this year. So they're kind of a shock and a surprise to me as well, man. The rest of the Eastern Conference just looks like the rest of the Eastern Conference. So moving on to the Western Conference standings, as of last night's game, number 1, like I said, man, in the league is 16-1. Are the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're just playing lights out, bro. What more can I say about them that I haven't said already? Number 2 in the West is Denver right now at 12-3. Number 3 is the Lakers at 11-4, tied with San Antonio for that record, 11-4. But San Antonio sits at 4 at 11-4. At number 5 would be the Houston Rockets at 10-4. Houston would take a loss last night to the number 2 seed Denver Nuggets. Man, a very, very close battle. You know what I mean? Like, they were playing, so they could have had an identical record of 11-4 as well. So it could be a 4-way tie there at 11-4, but man, Houston couldn't pull it out in the end. And so they said at number 5. At number 6 would be those Phoenix Suns that I spoke very highly of, during the article reading at 10-6. Minnesota 10-6 as well. So they basically just kind of leapfrog, switch places with Minnesota in the standings after beating them and having an equal record as of last night's win. At number 8 is Golden State at 9-9. There, mama, they go them boys. At number 9, Portland sits at 7-9, and then Utah at 5-10. So shocking, obviously, it's both Portland and Utah. You know what I mean? Like, kind of occupying space there in the playoff picture, but without the presence of a Dallas, you know what I mean, who's just looking like fucking garbage right now. And Sacramento, who I thought will put up, you know what I mean, would be like much better than they have shown so far. Then it makes sense that, you know what I mean, like, there's space for somebody else. I mean, for Pete's sakes, Utah's 5 games rather under 500, and they're presently sitting in the playoff picture. That just lets you know how garbage the bottom of the West is, man. But that's just it with the standings. That's been the basis of this episode, man. I want to thank you guys for your time. I appreciate you for checking out the episode. Like the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel. I will catch you in the next episode. Until then, watch more fucking basketball, yo. This season's been incredible. Take care of yourselves until then. Blessings.